And there's probably not a member of Congress that actually knows, now that Senator Byrd is dead, not Byrd is dead, I guess there's probably no one that knows what's in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. He was the guiding light.
Really? This is the Constitution.
Okay. Yeah,
What is this from?
This is the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
Now this is OCAM.
And this is not a spring chicken. We normally do not do a lot of reading. We usually just talk about highlights and things. Oh, actually, you did mention that. We're doing this because they don't even know about it, huh?
Most of the people, okay, our president feels that our Constitution and the Declaration of Independence have no relevance today. And the one man that could call you to task on the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence was Senator Byrd.
Oh, he was?
His Bible was our Constitution. And without Byrd to be the conscience of our Congress, it means there's virtually no one that even knows that this stuff exists anymore except on a piece of paper in a history book.
Well, you know, and part of it is, I guess they're changing the way the history books because it should be world history until, when is it?
And it doesn't start until the emancipation of the slaves. That's when the history of our nation starts, according to many history books now.
Yeah, which means they forget about the Declaration of Independence.
And our Constitution. They did not, I think the Constitution starts, our Constitution, as far as most people, starts with the amendment giving equal rights to the slaves. That's when it starts, you know. So we thought we'd do some reading today about things that people don't know anymore. Not taught in schools unless you go to Washington, D.C.
I don't even know if it's taught there. I mean,
well, no,
people kind of forget about these things.
You can see the original Declaration, but that's about it. So I got that one, like this one. Here's a good one. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of each the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind required that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. Then we get the biggie.
And, I mean, these are really, really important for people to take into consideration because it continues and says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having a direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts, be submitted to a candid world.
He refuses assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden the governors pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended he has utterly neglected to attend them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless these people would relinquish the right of representation of legislature, a right inestimable in the formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies to place unusual, uncomfort, and distant form from the deposition of the public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with the measures. this declaration is full of a lot. It's full of a lot of major words that people basically find hard. It's just funny, they find them hard to read today.
Well, some of these words we don't typically see every day.
But they don't read anything like this today, period.
Yeah.
No one says anything like this.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, proposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for nationalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their immigration, either are raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing district powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their office and the amount of payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and set hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Anybody draw a parallel between the current history of the United States and when the Declaration of Independence was written?
He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures, although they're not doing away with the military. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Now that part.
That's basically what's going on. But you don't have to cherry pick it. I mean, basically, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial form punishment for any murders which they should commit are the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent. Doesn't that sound, very, but it's being done for, right now, everything is being done for your benefit. That's what it was then when we said we broke off from Great Britain. It was done for your benefit, whether you wanted it or not.
Yeah. For depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
Well, anybody remember yesterday the White House basically put out the fact, if you don't like the law, ignore the law. The Supreme Court doesn't know what they're talking about. He has advocated government here by declaring us out of his protection and wagering war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burned our towns, destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transferring large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, always begun with the circumstance of their crudity and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous age and total unworthy heads. My father was a Haitian. My family were Haitian soldiers that came to this country, folks, so we do know about that.
They were Haitian soldiers?
My great was a German. He was basically a Prussian colonel, so he came here with his cavalry to fight the colonials and stayed. So. Basically, he has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against the country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hand.
Is that like where they're trying to get people to rat on their neighbors?
Yeah, that's what we got going on right now.
Or their parents?
That's right.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. a prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be
That's
a ruler.
right.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be a ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting an attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarranted jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our commerce kinder to disavow these usurpations, which should inevitably interrupt our connection and correspondence. They have been deaf to the voices of justice and content. We must therefore acquiesce in their necessity, which announces our separation, hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, and peace friends. I mean, doesn't anybody sound like this is what's going on now, where the Congress of the United States is paying absolutely no attention to what the people are telling them? It is basically a nation ran by the party, of the party, and for the party.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace and contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
The people that signed this declaration all put their heads in a noose when
They
this was
really
written.
did.
Today, if they were to write something like this, they would all be jailed as people that stood against our country. That's the, so I mean, I can tell people that when I was young, when I was in school in the late 40s, 50s, that every student in the classroom had to know the Declaration of Independence by heart. We also had to know the amendments to the Constitution. We had to know, the beginning of the Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution was required, just like knowing, to be or not to be, that is the question. I have come to bury Caesar, not to praise. All of this stuff had to be known. Today, you basically, most of the people, who's John Hancock? Who's Thomas Jefferson? Anybody know who Josh Barrett, Stephen Hawkins, William Emery,
I mean, some of
Roger
these people I really
Sherman,
have no clue. But other ones, I mean,
these are the founding fathers, people. These are people that thought enough of this country. What Richard Henry Lee, that's Leghorn Harriet. That is the father of Robert E. Lee, folks.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was why there
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benjamin Franklin, John Penn, remember Pennsylvania, folks? This was a man really loyal to the crown. All of these people here, virtually every single one of these people on this thing, was loyal to the British government beyond belief. All they wanted to do was they wanted the government to listen to them. They had no desire to listen to them. Our government today, it was Thomas Jefferson said that a little revolution always is good for democracy. And they also said these great things, that when the people fear the government, you have tyranny. When the government fears the people, you have democracy.
Oh.
Yeah. So what is constituted in that Declaration of Independence, once again, can be transferred over to our country today. We have a president and a Congress that has total contempt for the American people and the laws of this nation. If you don't like the law, Oliver Wendell Holmes, I remember being pounded in school, Oliver Wendell Holmes said, if you don't like the law, change the law, don't break the law. This current president says, basically, if you don't like the law, just ignore it. So.